Well, hi, food friends. It's Kevin.
And Ralph.
And we are here at the cottage, and we're starting outside today because we're going to make some pesto. And these are herbs that we planted in the spring. We got dill and sage and mint and thyme and parsley, cilantro, basil,
and chives.
And we're going to make regular pesto today with basil. You could also make basil actually with parsley. You could make it with mint. You could make pesto with cilantro if you wanted to. But we're going to use basil, and we need about 2 cups of basil leaves.
Wow! By the way, that basil really came to life. We were worried it was looking a little wilted.
Yeah, part of it was it's been so hot, and we have not had a lot of rain. But the past couple of days, it rained.
It's been a little wet up here.
And so that's good for us, but we have all this basil, and if you have pots and you have a place for it, growing your own herbs is really great, because what you would spend on a plant is not much more, it might even be less than you would spend on a bunch of fresh herbs in the store.
And we've mentioned it before, but the difference in the freshness is really remarkable.
And basil, actually, you cut it back and it grows back. So, all right, so we have our basil.
What do you need, about a fistful?
2 cups. This is like a big bunch.
Oh.
We're going to take the leaves off.
Fistful isn't really a measurement, is it?
And no, we're going to take the leaves off. We'll measure them, wash them, dry them, and then we'll measure them. But it'll be about 2 cups by the time we get all done.
What's that activity I hear in the background?
Well, actually, we've got Jock and Mike, and we're having a deck built on the back of the cottage. And so they just started this a couple days ago, and they've got all the posts in. So if you hear some saws and hammers and things going on in the background, you'll know why.
This will also serve as a kind of before and after document.
That's right. So we're really looking forward to it. We'll be able to eat outside more often, and it'll be great. So, all right, we're going to get started on the basil. We have our basil leaves. They're all washed and pretty much spun dry in our little salad spinner here. So those are good. These are just finished. Now, normally with pesto, you're using pine nuts. In this case, we are using almonds. You can also use walnuts if you want. The thing about pine nuts when pine nuts are toasted, they have really a unique and wonderful flavor, but they're $35 a pound.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And so
in this economy, you can use something else that'll give it a different flavor, but it'll still be good. And almonds are, I think, a good substitute. Actually, we don't know for sure because we haven't tried them, but I'm thinking almonds will be a good substitute if we toast them nicely.
I think so too. And again, you could use walnuts. That's a very popular substitution for pine nuts, but we're using almonds. So we have 1/4 cup of almonds here in a dry pan, just on kind of medium low heat. You can smell them.
To smell the toastiness.
You can see they're starting to turn brown. These were just raw almonds, and the toasting brings out the natural oils.
What's great about nuts is that they do bring out this oil that helps them to toast, and it creates such a great flavor. So I think whatever nut you use, it's going to be a tasty pesto.
Definitely.
And they're easy to make, these pestos, aren't they?
They really are. So basically everything goes into the food processor. That's one thing that it really helps to have a food processor. You could do this with a mortar and pestle. You could certainly do it with a blender if you had a really good strong blender. But the best tool is a food processor. So if you have one, that's best to use. So we put in our nuts, 1/4 cup of the nuts. This is a little more than 2 cups of basil leaves. I'm putting in 2 large cloves of garlic that I smashed. And we have here almost 3/4 of a cup to a cup of fresh grated Parmesan cheese. Do not use the green can stuff. Okay,
This is
for
one
this.
step saver we don't recommend.
Yeah, I mean it really does. That doesn't really work very well. Use fresh Parmesan. It makes a big difference.
So the basic ingredients of pesto are cheese, olive oil, basil, and nuts,
And garlic.
and garlic. Okay.
So I've got about a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put that in. And then a lot of it has to do with the consistency that you like your pesto. If you like it more liquidy, certainly you could add more garlic if you like it more garlicky. But I would start with this. I'm also going to put in about a teaspoon of salt. Okay. Then, here we go. Just pulse it down. The main thing is you want those nuts to really be chopped fine, which is why a food processor does such a great job. So you can take a look, Ralphie. Maybe you can get a shot of the inside. You can see. I'm just going to push this down a little bit, and actually, we're going to have just a little taste. See if how is it doing on salt or. Oh my God. That really is good.
You're not going to forget the cameraman again, are you?
I'm not going to forget the cameraman. I'm going to pulse a little bit more and put just a grind of black pepper.
It's too chunky still with the nuts.
Right. So we want it a little finer. I'm going to put just a smidge of pepper in there. And
in the background we have Peggy Lee, her later years. P is for pesto and P is for Peggy.
that's right. She's belting out the tunes of the 70s.
You have to be a real hardcore Peggy Lee fan to like this later stuff, which we both do, and we both are.
So here I think you'll find we're getting it a little smoother. I'm going to blend it just a little bit longer. And of course, it's just such a beautiful color.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about pesto. That fresh green really reminds you of spring, and it's kind of food that if you're not hungry when you're making it, you will be, because it's just so good for the eyes, good for the nose, and good for the
heart and the soul. And this is such a summery dish. And we're going to later on, we're just going to boil up some pasta and grill some chicken and throw it all together with the pesto, and that's what we're going to do for dinner.
The other thing about pesto is you can freeze it easily too.
It does freeze beautifully. You could spread this on bread, on toasted bread,
yes.
on a sandwich. A lot of ways to use pesto. So, if you've got a basil plant in your yard, make your pesto or pick up some fresh basil at your farmer's market and
you'll be glad you did, because you'll save a lot of money if you make your own. It's expensive at the store, as well as we mentioned the pine nuts are expensive. So yeah, get creative, use different types of things.
And when you make it yourself, you can put as much garlic in as you want. Like I said, you can use walnuts, pine nuts. We use almonds, which I'm surprised. I mean, we thought it would be good, but it really gives it a really delicious flavor. So, all right, that's pesto.
Cottage
Kitchen. So, thanks. We'll see you next time.